Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Honorary Golden Bear Award Ceremony 2014. And now, please welcome your host for tonight, Cecile Schortmann.
Dear guests, dear friends and colleagues of our guest of honor, Your Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, I'm delighted to welcome you at the Berlinale Palast. Tonight, the 2014 Berlin International Film Festival will present the Honorary Golden Bear for a Lifeman's Achievement. Ken Loach, to tell you something about him, is known as a director who often doesn't hand the whole script to his actors. He loves to surprise them because he's convinced that a spontaneous reaction, sometimes it's much better than acting. I'm sure that he's right. Fortunately for us tonight, we don't have to expect such a surprise. No police suddenly bursting into the Berlinale Palast. No one will be shot unexpectedly or receive some shocking news. Maybe some funny news. Ken Loach has often emphasized the importance of humor in his work. Certainly, this is a much more common manner of directing, but we who are responsible for the ceremony are glad to know what is going on. So I can already tell you that this promises to be also a political event. How could it be otherwise when you consider the biography and work of tonight's award winner, who we are about to recognize with the Berlinale's highest honor? To him, the combination of film and politics does not mean film politics. A deep-rooted interest in people and their stories, as well as a critical engagement with society, run through his entire body of work. He's one of Europe's most important directors. How many directors and filmmakers can claim to have created their own genre? In this case, British social realism. He can. Our award winner has already enjoyed being a guest at the Berlin International Film Festival many times over, first in the International Forum of Young Film, later in the official program of competition, and most recently in the Berlinale special last year, when our festival celebrated the premiere of The Spirit of 45, his documentary about the nationalization of key British industries. In the homage section this year, the Berlinale is showing 10 of Ken Loach's films, including his TV feature, Kathy, Come Home, and his international breakthrough, Cass, alongside Raining Stones, which will be screened directly after the ceremony. Ladies and gentlemen, as presenter of the award, may I now invite onto the stage a man who has been designated a national cultural monument in his native Czech Republic, Jiří Menzel. As a director and actor, he was one of the leading figures in the Czechoslovakian Nouvelle Vague, which caused such a sensation around the world in the 1960s. His work is also political, hence his satirical film from 1969, Larks on a String, was banned following the suppression of the Prague Spring and could only be seen by international audiences for the first time at the Berlinale in 1990, 21 years later. The reward for this involuntary patience was the Golden Bear. Jiří Menzel was most recently at the Berlinale in 2007 with his competition film I Serve the King of England. Something else connects our award winner and presenter of the award. Closely observed trains, which won Jiří Menzel in the 1968 Academy Award for Best Foreign Language Film, has had a significant influence on the work of Ken Loach and is his favorite film. Please give a big round of applause for Jiří Menzel.
Ken Loach. He is my friend, my colleague. But sorry, I have to talk in Czech language because my English language is too funny. And I think that for him it's good to better in Czech with the translating, yes.
It was almost 50 years ago that Ken and I began a wondrous adventure, an adventure called cinema. We were thrilled by the possibility of making the people around us a bit more conscious of their world with the help of a few moving pictures. It was the hope of making them a bit more mature and in any case more humane, and to be able to do this with made-up stories that never let us forget that their roots are firmly anchored in reality. We were interested in the social and political reality in which we lived. We were looking for the inner truth of our time. And for this, we had outstanding models. These were, above all, the Italian directors, the masters of neorealism. Rossellini, Fellini, Visconti, but especially the great Vittorio De Sica, with his bicycle thieves, his shoeshine, or his Umberto D. With such films that condensed real life into the form of beautiful art. De Sica brought us to tears and to laughter at the same time. And people all over the world felt this, no matter whether in provincial England, where Ken came from, or in my city of Prague. That was the cinema we loved, films that moved us to tears, but also to joy. Despite all this ever-present tragedy, works that were always bound to the principle of hope. We too wanted to give people courage for their daily lives through our films. And it is not without a certain logic that we were not spared our fair share of setbacks and pain. When our dream of democratic socialism was smashed, I was not allowed to make films for a few years. And Ken, a son of a laborer, collided headlong with the new ice-cold conservatism of Margaret Thatcher. British television no longer wanted to show his films, and British censorship did its political duty. But Ken Loach didn't flinch. He remained courageous and rebellious. And in the end, he left the battlefield in this unequal struggle as a victor. In an interview, he described what was most important for him as a filmmaker, saying that he didn't touch anything that doesn't cast a critical spotlight on the world. Today, Ken's films have long since been recognized as among the best and most beautiful that engaged European cinema has created in the second half of the 20th century. A cinema born of both art and politics. I name just a few titles here, such as Poor Cow, Cass, Looks and Smiles, or Lady Bird, Lady Bird,
Raining Stones,
Raining
or just
Stones,
a kiss.
or Just a Kiss.
V těchto příbězích je Ken vždy na straně
With these
jednoduchých,
stories, he is
obyčejných
always on
lidí.
the side of the simple folk,
Slabých,
ordinary people,
unavených,
the
utlačovaných,
weak, the
ale
tired,
vždy lidí,
and the
kteří
oppressed,
nikdy nezapomenou,
but people
jak se
who never
vytáhnou
forget how to
z
pull
vlastních
themselves
strastí.
up by their own bootstraps.
Jeho hrdinové nejsou nikdy oběťmi.
His heroes are never merely victims.
To ne samotná lítost
Oh no,
Kenovi
pity
nestačí.
isn't enough for him.
Neopomíná nic, ale jde přímo k jádru věci.
He takes nothing for granted, but goes right to the heart of the matter.
Loach, úžasně lehký, velmi přímý,
Wonderfully
vždycky
easy,
vtipný
very
a
direct,
neomylný
always
Ken
humorous,
Loach.
and unmistakably Ken
Často
Loach.
používá amatérské herce. Začíná
He often uses lay people as his
a
actors,
oslňuje
starts with a
improvizovanými
laconic
dialogy
script,
a chytrými
and delights
pointami.
in improvised dialogue and clever punchline.
Nikdy nemáš depresi? Ptá se zpěvák.
Aren't you ever
Riff.
depressed? Asks a singer in Riff Raff.
A dělník odpovídá.
And the worker replies,
Deprese, to je něco pro střední třídu.
depression is something for the middle class.
Ostatní musí vstávat brzo.
The others have to get up early.
Ty ostatní musí vstávat brzo.
The others have to get up early.
Nemůže právě tato věta být motem Ken
Couldn't that
Loachova
be the
života?
motto for Ken Loach's life?
Ken zůstává osvíceným v tom
Ken
nejlepším
has
slova
remained
smyslu.
an enlightener in the best sense of the
Jeho
world.
filmy otevírají naše oči.
His films open our eyes.
Pomáhají učinit svět kolem nás
They help to make the
nesitelnějším.
world around us more perceptible.
Ken nás vyzývá být
He challenges us
aktivnějšími.
to become more active.
Neměli bychom akceptovat věci tak, jak jsou,
We shouldn't accept
ale
things as they
máme
are,
zvednout naše
but
hlasy
should raise our voices against
proti
injustice
nespravedlnosti, despotismu a
and
bující
despotism
hlouposti.
and against rampant stupidity.
It's too hard work. Měli bychom zvýšit naši ostražitost, když se nás
We should keep our
mocní
awareness when
snaží
the
ukolébat
powers
ke
that
spánku.
be try to lull us into sleep.
Povědomí a solidarita.
Awareness and solidarity.
Kino má být pro lidi.
Cinema should be of use to people.
Krásná utopie.
A beautiful
Myslím
utopia.
která nikdy
And by this I mean
nezestárne.
an utopia that never grows old.
Ken Loach samozřejmě není nenapravitelným
Of course,
svědkem,
Ken Loach is not an incorrigible dreamer,
ani obhájcem nějakého ráje,
not
který
an
nikdy nebude
apologist of some
existovat.
paradise that will never exist.
Ken je jako vždy realistickým
He is,
skeptikem,
as it were, a realistic skeptic,
tazatelem s vizí,
a questioner with visions,
básníkem nad
a
univerzální
poet
propastí,
who rises above the
který
universal
nás
abyss
úsměvem na
with a
tváři
smile on his face
povzbuzuje
and encourages us all to joyous survival,
stejně jako jeho hrdinové stoupají
just as his heroes rise again from the depth of despair.
Možná s tou zvláštní chutí whisky na
Perhaps
jejich rtech,
with that special taste of whiskey on their
tak,
lips,
jak jsme to viděli v
as
jeho
we saw
nádherném
it
filmu
in his wonderful movie
Angels Share.
Angels Share.
Congratulations, Ken, on your strength, your courage, your perseverance. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Hirschi Menzel. And for the presentation of the Honorary Golden Bear, I would now like to invite onto the stage the director of the Berlin International Film Festival and the award winner, Dieter Koslik and Ken Loach.
Dear Ken, the Berlin International Film Festival is proud to give you this Golden Bear. You have already one, Shiri. Okay, we are very proud that Shiri Menzel is giving you the Golden Bear for your lifetime achievement. Bravo! Wow. 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 Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Wow. Wow, good. Okay, thank you. Well, thanks very much. Thank you. Well, okay. Well, this is overwhelming. Thank you. Okay, thanks so much. Thank you. I'm completely overwhelmed by your response and by the generosity of the festival. And I can't, on behalf of all the people who have made our films, have to say a huge thank you to Dieter and Rainer and everyone at the festival for their magnificent generosity in this. And I'm so moved that Jiri Menzel is here, because where's he's gone? There you go. I'm so moved that Jiri is here because he won't know the inspiration that his films and those of his friends in Prague in the 60s were to us. We saw these humane, sympathetic, funny, witty, acerbic, satirical, generous films, observed with such beauty and finesse, with a simple technique, but a very precise technique. And we thought, these are the films we want to make. And Jiri spoke of the long tradition coming from the Italians before and after. But it was the films of Jiri and his friends that touched us most. So for Jiri to be here is, to me, is deeply touching. So thank you. Thank you, Jiri. Thank you. As you all know, films are not the product of one person. And I've been immensely fortunate in the partnerships that I've had with actors, with cameramen, with recordists, with designers, with an editor, with wonderful, talented people. But there are two I have to mention with whom I've worked for now a quarter of a century. And I would not be able to be here without them. One is Rebecca O'Brien, who's the producer, and whose courage and gallantry and bravery have kept us going so for a quarter of a century. And the other is the writer Paul Laverty, whose writing has a truth and a depth which makes directing a joy. It seems to me that the prime creative spark for a film comes from the person who confronts the blank sheet of paper, and that's the writer. And there is no finer writer or stronger, braver comrade than Paul. And I've also had a partner in life who's kept me going for 50 years, so that's a big help too. In fact, more than a big help. And I guess in our stories, as Yeri has said, we've tried to find stories of ordinary life that have a significance beyond just the characters in the film. And to put characters on the screen that you would like to meet, that you will cry with, that you will smile with, that you will be angry for, that you will feel solidarity with. And through telling their stories, we may shine a light on sections of our world that we might otherwise ignore or might otherwise not be written about. And what we learn from the Italians and what we learn from Yer and his friends is that these are proper subjects for films. These are not just the servants or all the extras. These are central characters. This is the center of the drama. And it may well be that the laughter has got even more bitter in recent years, and the anger has got more intense, because the world is getting darker, seems to many of us. And it's hard to recognize this, surrounded as we are by the generosity of the festival, and we live a fine life when we're making films. But in truth, I think the world is getting darker. As the rich get richer, the poor get poorer. As all the fabric of society tends to be ripped apart for so many people. What we constructed 2 generations ago is falling apart. We are actually destroying the fabric of the world. The ecology of the world is facing destruction. So I think we do live in darkening times, though it's sometimes difficult to remember this. And if I can take a moment to say something to the Europeans here, because I guess most of us are Europeans. And I don't know about you, but I think we do need a united Europe. We are in it together. We are Europeans, and we have to find common cause. But we have to find a different Europe. We have to find a Europe that doesn't drive us to sell or give up everything that we've built together. We have to find a Europe that is against this enforced privatization on many of our poorer friends. And I think we've got to have a Europe that's based on cooperation, on not competition, where we live together, where we build together, where we put our resources into those poorer countries so that we work and live as equals. And because if we don't have a European of equality, we won't have a Europe at all. So that's my one thought to pass on. But the film tonight was made 20 years ago, and the reason that we suggested it is that it's quite short, and it has got a few laughs in, and it's about a man struggling to find his dignity when he seems to be losing everything. It was written by a man called Jim Allen, who was a building worker, he was a dock worker, he was a miner, and he was a man who wrote beautiful dialogue. So it's partly a tribute to him to show this film. That's it, really. Tonight will stay with me for a long time, and particularly your presence, Yuri. Thank you again. Thank you to the festival. And on behalf of all of us who have made the films, a huge thank you.
Congratulations again, and thank you, Dieter Koslik and Jerzy Menzel. Congratulations, Ken Loach.